This isn't necessarily the time to jump into the commotion. I always tell you that most of the opportunity comes in times of chaos, when there's blood in the streets. But that doesn't mean that you jump into the blood in the streets. It means that you pick your moments once it's played out. There's a lot going on right now in every possible way, economically, militarily. But first, before we get into the heavy stuff, I want to give you guys a special holiday message, which I'll do at the end of this video. But right now, in this video, I'm going to try and make a case to tell you why I'm thinking about just stepping back and observing and watching and looking for my opportunities rather than try and jump on board some of these things that are going through the roof. The time to buy cryptocurrencies, the time to buy stocks, the time to buy real estate, in my opinion, is not right now. But I'm going to add a caveat to that I've been wrong about a lot of this stuff. I've expected this whole economic direction to shift for a while. I'm usually early, I'm usually right. I think that things are going to turn around and it'll come along with a recession, but I have been proven wrong in so many ways and every level. There's a lot of liquidity right now, and there's only going to be more when there's a whole bunch of monetary creation by the Federal Reserve to help pay for all the stuff that we're spending that we can't afford. Most of the stuff is already purchased, and now it's just a matter of whether or not we're going to decide to pay for it. Luckily, there's $1 trillion coin made out of platinum. I'm sure that'll take care of everything. And we'll talk about gold and the presidential transition and Ronald Reagan. But first, we got to talk about some of the heavy military conflicts and things that are going on that are meaningful on the macro front. South Korea, you guys have heard, has declared martial law, which lasted about a number of hours before their parliament overruled it. But the point is that you're looking at other countries. South Korea is a massive economy, and they are going through a little bit of tumult and chaos, or a lot of it. That's just a reflection of one place on the earth. There's a lot of problems in Europe, in Asia, South America. And with Israel doing such a tremendous job fighting Hezbollah, a lot of these rebel groups in Syria that have been there fighting against the al-Assad regime for such a long time, an ally of China, Russia, Iran, fighting to overthrow the Syrian government. That's going to be massive. It involves Turkey, it involves Israel, Iran, Lebanon, China, Russia, America. This is how things balloon. They will expand, and it's not going to be pretty. What can you do about it? You can just be aware of it and then make the decisions you need to make, whatever those are for you. A lot of the conflicts in the Ukraine and the Middle East, no one's sure how they're going to go after this presidential transition. What does it mean if President Trump had said, let Russia do whatever the hell they want, and he wants to get out of NATO, etc., etc.? I don't have a horse in this race. I'm just saying, what does that all mean? Does this help de-escalate things? You'll have your own opinion. Or does it make things actually go the wrong way, explode? But we'll talk about all of that in just a minute. But I want to get to some of the things I wanted to say about the gold prices and a lot of the central bank buying and selling trends. This is all from gold.org. And these are the current buying trends. I'll show you on screen here. You can see that in Q3, Kazakhstan sold 12.85 tons of gold, whereas Poland bought 42.33 tons. But you can see here is Q2. You'll notice some similar names here. Watch these names: Poland, India, Turkey. It's about who's doing the buying. Not just that there is a lot of buying. It's that certain countries are doing the buying, and that might reveal something about their belief system or where they think things are going to go. Go back to Q1. Turkey bought 30 tons. China bought 27 tons. India bought 18.5 tons. Do you know what? We're talking tons here. You might lose that or not pay attention to it because a number is a number. But I'm talking about 18.5 tons of gold that India bought. Think about that. But it's more helpful to go to the full year. Here's the full year for 2023. You'll see Uzbekistan. Keeping an eye on all this buying and selling is great. But also, where are we now? We're looking at the income statement. I want to look at the balance sheet. So how much does everybody have? These are gold reserves by country. This is Q3 2024. That's the most recent and completed period of data. And all you guys who have been around here for a while, I'm sure you remember me talking about gold since way back in the day. Times when you talk about gold and everyone's saying, but it's still just sitting at $1,600. It's not moving. It's been there for a long time. And you're like, yeah, you're right. Gold won't go anywhere. And for long-time subscribers, I was talking about it. You'll remember on that cruise ship, I was talking about it on the streets of New York. But we were talking about this for years now, years and years. And it was always about, first and primarily about the central bank buying. And then once gold prices started really moving recently, they started to figure out what's going on. They're saying, oh, there's central bank buying. It's like, yeah, they noticed it now. But I've been talking about it from the beginning where it's going to drive the prices of gold higher. And you'll notice if you're a subscriber to the Peter Leeds newsletter, my personal portfolio is almost all gold and energy companies and silver and commodities. And a lot of the stock picks for the Peter Leeds world famous newsletter are in the mining industry. A lot of them focused on the Golden Triangle in Canada now is my favorite region. Specifically because some of these smaller miners that are there sitting on a treasure trove. These are some of the stocks we talk about in the newsletter. But listen to this email that came in. He's going to buy shares of those smaller Golden Triangle miners that we talk about in the Peter Leeds newsletter. He's going to buy shares of both of them for his children. That I said right away. I'm totally going to put that in the video. That's a great idea. What a great idea. Everybody should buy shares of these companies for their children and grandchildren. Grandchildren don't know how old they are. They're just walking around, and then they've got these shares, so they're not sitting there watching the pot boil. They'll just one day turn around and say, oh my goodness, my entire education is paid for. But since we started talking about gold, how much gold prices have gone up? It's nearly $1,000. And the fact that the mining companies are not trading at least 4 times their prices, some of these companies, is absolutely tremendously ridiculous. In my opinion, I'm not giving you personalized trading advice. When something's this ridiculous, this offside, in my opinion, it's a gift. Why not put a few $100s in and take a few thousand out? But in the overall markets I wanted to talk about, I just think that aside, Newmont Mining, Barrick Gold, all the mining companies I'm a huge proponent of. But to go back to what's going on with the economy, I feel like everything is priced for perfection. Stock market, and people say, okay, if the stock market's going up to new record highs, it's going up so strongly. And you say, well, then it must be due for a fall. That's not correct. That's not at all why I'm saying this. I've been saying this for a while. The money or the new currency will be dumped upon all of us. The Federal Reserve will create it, and that will help pay for things like the trade deficit, the operating imbalance, operating deficit, even the carrying costs of the national debt. And I don't mean to smile. I know I told you guys earlier, I got to smile more. I don't like it. I hate it. And you know what else I hate? I hate when people are like, make sure to subscribe to the video and share the video. Tell your friends, like, do our work for us. Or like, I can't stand it because everybody does it, which makes me even more want to not do it. But then it's kind of real, like you have to. And you can see in the analytics, if you say, please click the like button, then more people click it. It sucks. So I'm blaming you for this. But I believe the stock market is priced for perfection. I also believe a lot of it, as you know, it was driven by Trump getting elected. There's a misunderstanding of how this weak economy will do with a lot of these policies. One word you could sum it up is inflation. That's one thing that's going to happen in a massive way. Now we've got the holidays, nobody's watching, no one's keeping their eye on the ball. You got the presidential transition coming up around the corner just after that. And while everyone was watching that, the entire world is falling into recession all around us. Now I have one thing I want to say about Ronald Reagan, and it's on my script here, and I meant to get to this point in a different way and it would have made more sense, but it's on the script, so I'm just going to tell you. I don't remember where it was supposed to fit in. It was about Donald Trump and what does that mean for military conflicts like in Gaza or in the Ukraine or in the South China Sea. So Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev were at the height of the Cold War, and they got off to a little bit of a bickering match and were not liking each other and fighting a little bit right off the bat. And it just started contentiously. But Ronald Reagan stood up, did a circle, sat back down, put out his hand and said, "Hello, I'm Ronald. Nice to meet you." Next thing you know, the Berlin Wall is coming down, a piece of which is right behind me there. And as promised, my holiday message for you. Happy holidays, no matter who you are, what you celebrate, what you believe in, and what you don't. I like to not have a horse in this race. I got my own holidays. But I think at this time, the holidays should be more of a time of reflection, because I think that this entire world has fallen apart since the 80s. No one knows that we're living off of debt because it's easy. Nobody's noticed this. Like, I'm sorry, is it just me looking around at this stuff? It's pretty clearly obvious. Well, anyway, sorry. That's not I messed up the message. Love you guys. You're such great supporters. And I work really hard for you. You know that. And you can get in touch with me anytime you want. And if you want enhanced contact with me, become a Peter Leeds Insider. peterleeds.com/insiders. That way you also get a special letter that I write that's exclusively for Peter Leeds Insiders. And last thing I'll say to you, a great gift in case you forgot anybody, you want to buy it for yourself, is a Peter Leeds subscription. And you can get started today for 55 cents a day, something like that. I forget how little it was. And that way you'll get to see my personal portfolio, every trade I make. You'll get stock picks with full write-ups, full analysis each week, other special benefits and articles. Sorry for the sales pitch. I'm going to pay some bills.